Get ready for some fire. I got Claire Sparrow in the house today. I have so much excitement and so much joy to be able to interview Claire right now. So I don't want to waste any time. You absolutely freaking crushed your book process. Okay. But let's go back. Why are you here? Why'd you write a book? Give us a little background on you and your book adventure.
Well, it's awesome to be here. I'm so excited to share some value, hopefully, with your amazing listeners. I always love the podcast and learn so much, so I'm excited to share too. I'm Claire Sparrow, and I wrote the book Hope for Your Pelvic Floor. And it started because I was working with so many women who had major problems with their pelvic floor function and health, were being given the same solution over and over again and finding that it wasn't working over and over again. And I created a solution that served them. And it wasn't enough to do that in person with people because there was too many women. So I thought, okay, somebody said maybe I should write a book. And I still hear it like dull in my head now. My little voice said, you're not a writer. You don't have what it takes to be out there communicating something so important. And so I had a lot of those kind of voices in my head. And then one day a client actually said to me, so I run a Pilates studio and I'm working privately with clients. And this particular woman said to me, look, you are more than just the movements you're teaching us to help fix our pelvic floor. You are the voice of hope. And it was in that moment that I realized that this inkling to write a book had to somehow come to fruition. And that's when I started to explore what that might look like. And as if by magic, Jake, you were on a podcast that I listened to diligently every time with Chris Harder. And he's someone who I've done some coaching with, and I really rate and value his opinion. So I knew you had to be somebody to check out. And from our first conversation, I literally went from this kind of defeated attitude in my head of not being a writer. And there was legs on that because I am dyslexic. I didn't do well in school. I have built my own business, but through a lot of challenges to get there. And I went from that feeling to feeling like, cool, everybody's got a book and can produce a book. And that was in a half an hour conversation. So that's kind of the initial way into to writing my book.
I love that. And, I think one of the things that's been the biggest joys for me of having the privilege to work with you is just your energy and your excitement about the process. I mean, there were times where you were just like hands in your face, like, what the heck is happening right now? And there were times where you're like, I'm trusting the process. Whatever you say, Jake, I'm going to do it because it works every single time. And it was so fun to see you on that emotional roller coaster, not because I like seeing, the struggles, but because I love seeing your enthusiasm in the positive times and in the times where you faced some of those obstacles along the way. Because like you mentioned, you didn't associate yourself as a writer. You mentioned you didn't do well in school. You mentioned you have dyslexia. These are all things that could hinder someone's ability to think of themselves as a great writer. And
For
you did a
sure.
great job of going through this process and finding ways to navigate all of those things. And so I want to know, like, having those beliefs, right? And working with that and taking on this challenge of writing a book, like, how did you gain the confidence, or what part of the process made this so doable for you?
It's multifaceted really, because not only did I have those kind of described attitudes about myself as a writer, I was also setting to write a book that was going really against the tide, against the grain, against the majority of pelvic floor exercise and rehabilitation. So there was that fear and worry as well. And I cannot stress enough how much stronger my belief and desire to get this message out there to women had to be for me to overcome all of those things, for me to stay positive when I was tearing my hair out. And, you know, what, there were some definite challenges along the way. The book for me was just such a vital message to get out there, that was so strong. And then I think if I the moments where it was difficult, the moments where I was challenged by the writing process or technology, or just the many moments where I faced myself and that it was hard to actually get the words out of my head onto paper and it sound like it made sense, it was hard. And having connection in that we were at least once a week together. I made every single meeting through the whole entire process. And if I didn't have the accountability of that and the support and encouragement, and knowing that you or someone else in the group would have something to support me through that challenge so that I could continue to meet the commitment that I had made to myself and to the women that I haven't even met to get this book out there. I think, you know, I don't know that I could have kept going if I didn't have that level of consistent support. And I was there.
Yeah, you showed up. I always could count on you to be there. And that's also why your book did so well, right?
Oh, yeah.
You were able to, and we'll get into that here in a second. But, you know, one of the things that is so critical in the book process is you have to have support and accountability, whether it's in a group program, whether it's a coach, whether it's a friend. There has to be an added element of support. And it's up to you, not just you, Claire, but for everyone that's listening to this, it's up to you to decide that a book is a priority and that you're going to make the time to treat it as such. And because you did that, you were able to fly through the process. You were able to have everything dialed in. You were able to have a massively successful launch, which we're going to talk about. But I'm curious, was there any moment, because you did show up all the time, you did the work, was there any standout moments or turning points for you that really helped you know that I can see the finish line, I'm going to finish this thing, this is going to be everything I'm supposed to do?
The first 1,000 words. That was the moment. And I you had suggested at the beginning, which was really helpful, was to have also somebody outside of the group for accountability.
Yeah.
And so I had somebody in my kind of close network to support me in that way. And I was stuck with the first word, I had an awesome plan. And you'll remember, like, I was all over my whole process. It was dialed in, but I couldn't get it from the plan to starting writing. And when I had that accountability person say, look, you've got an hour right now, just start, because it doesn't matter what happens, just start. And I did. And that first 1,000 words, it spewed out of me. And then I knew I could do it, because I could get, in less than an hour, I got that 1,000 words out. I knew if I can do that, I can do it. And I'm a very busy person. People say to me on a regular basis, how did you find time to write a book when you're doing, you know, I have 3 children, I run 2 businesses, I travel, I do a lot with my life, because it was a priority and because I enlisted the tools and help to be able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And because of all that, your hard work paid off, right? So talk to me about the launch for you. What did you decide to do for the launch? How did you do it, being in the UK versus the United States? Like, all of these things, like, talk me through what worked really well for you and what kind of happened when you launched it.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I really did follow to the letter. So for those of you listening that maybe don't know what Jake offers, in his program, I did the Big Idea to Bestseller program, and we had weekly sessions and we had online materials, which were videos. And so Jake was basically playing in my house all the time, or in my earbuds, because as a dyslexic person, for me, I work really well audibly, so I needed that to hear it. And I needed to hear it multiple times, which meant that listening over and over again, making my own notes, I really bedded in the process of the launch. And I just followed literally step by step everything that the launch process entailed. I got my launch team. I got a wait list of people who were getting excited about the book. That was huge for me, building the excitement on social media and also in this private community of people where I was emailing them updates every week. They got to help me choose the cover design. They got to read passages of the book before it was released. So they were really on board. And then for the actual launch, I followed the steps and I had a big, huge party. And as I said before, I actually have a premises because I have a Pilates studio in Leeds. So we have loads of space. And we transformed it into an event space. We had flowers and balloons and we had it all going on. And it was almost like, well, what we wanted to create was like you were walking into the book. So we painted the door pink so it was the same as the book, and we had giant books there. And then in my book, I've broken down sections. So you've got what's called movement moments. So I'm teaching women how to discover their pelvic floor and how to exercise it in a new and alternative way. And we had a disco, which was our movement moment. And then I have hope hints all the way through the book. So little easy, simple things women can tap into during their everyday lives. So we had a whole area about that. So we made it dynamic. We had speeches and I cried, of course. And on that day, so we left the party at about 11:30 p.m. and I went home, just thought, oh, I better just look at Amazon and see what's happening. And I was a bestseller already. And it was we had just left the party. I could not believe it. On all my 3 categories, it was phenomenal. And we've stayed bestseller and, it's just gone from strength to strength.
Yeah, yeah, that's so cool. I love how you had all of those little things in place and you made it fun and you made it your own. And I think that something that's so fun in this process, right, is you work your butt off to get the book done. All right, a book is a labor of love. Like no matter what way we can support you, you're gonna have to put in the work. And
Yeah.
I think that and you could probably now looking back, you could probably say doing a launch party is 100% the move because you get to celebrate the heck out of yourself for doing something that so many people want to do, but they never get to do. You get to celebrate yourself with the people that are closest to you. You get to do something to really honor yourself. And sometimes we don't celebrate ourselves enough in our daily lives. And so it's really cool to see you celebrate yourself in this way, to host that launch party, to bring people together. And I want to ask you a little bit more about some of the stuff in your book here, and then we'll continue talking about the launch. But you mentioned you have your movement moments, you mentioned that, your book is 6 practical principles. Can you walk us through some of the stuff that you actually talk about in the book and how it helps women and give them hope for their pelvic floor?
Yeah, I love it. So hope for your pelvic floor. It just makes me so happy that we got there with the title, because even that was a process. I'd written the book and it was done and I was still struggling, and it just feels so good to hear other people say it. And it is about giving women hope, because many women feel hopeless with their pelvic floor. Many of the messages out there about just accept it. It's your age, you've had children, you've had surgery. And in the book, I start off straight away busting some of those myths that are out there. And I did it by actually sharing women's stories. So instead of just my word telling you that just because you're going through menopause or you've not had children, these things, that doesn't mean that you don't need to care for your pelvic floor. And so we have all these beautiful stories where women asked me to have their stories expressed in the book because they wanted to be part of sharing hope. One of the first things that we cover in education and experience is about breath and the importance of breath in relation to your pelvic floor. Most of us women, and I bet it's the same for men, they at some point we thought it was a good idea to pull our tummies in. Okay. And when you pull your tummy in, you prevent your diaphragm, so your big breathing diaphragm, from moving down and communicating vital information to your pelvic floor, which is also a diaphragm. So when we go through this in a movement moment in the book, is I teach women to actually let it go. Let your belly button go, let it go, so that your breath can communicate fully to your pelvic floor. And I have so many messages about that one bit really early on in the book, because it's been a game changer for people. We've got a massive Facebook group community, and women are just, that's the thing. It's the letting it go and realizing that if you let it go, your pelvic floor can actually function really, really well if it's given the opportunity to. So that's one of the first big things that we go into. And then towards the end of the book, I talk about patience. And I think for many things in the world, culturally, we want things quickly. We want a quick fix.
Yep.
And my book is really about avoiding surgery, because many women come to me and they want to do the work with me because they're trying to do something natural to heal their pelvic floor after injury or a birth injury. And actually they want to avoid surgery, so they want to do this naturally, and we do it and it takes patience. And that's the piece that I think was so difficult for me to write, because I know we all want a quick fix. They want me to tell them this kind of like pretty story, and actually it's not fair if I'm not honest and say, this is, you have your pelvic floor for life, like you have your teeth for life. You should look after your pelvic floor in the same way as you look after your teeth. So important. So I hope that that's useful to hear.
Yeah, no, it's definitely useful. I mean, there's so many great things. I mean, as you were talking about breath, I mean, I'm over here adjusting my body, and I'm like, all right, am I doing it right? Like, and it's so great, and I love what you do, and you really do care about it. So that's like the coolest thing too, right? Is like, you're writing a book based on something that you're so passionate about and something that you really know is making a lot of difference. And as you're already saying, there are plenty of people already commenting on just that one little thing, right?
Yeah.
And if you didn't write that one little thing, there would be a lot of people out there still seeking an answer. But that one thing makes somebody's investment in the book is everything.
And that's a big thing, because for many women, they're in pain and don't realize that there could be something that they can do about the pain.
Yep.
And many women, so one of the other things that I explain in the book is about pelvic organ prolapse, because 50% of women suffer from pelvic organ prolapse. And because they're told that it's due to a weakness of their pelvic floor muscles, they think they need to strengthen them, and it actually doesn't improve the symptoms. Whereas when you go through the breathing and the techniques that I teach in the book, it can massively improve your prolapse. So it's huge.
Wow. Wow. And so, when you launched it, right? We talked about the launch party, and you just came out of the gate firing. All right. And you hit bestseller in the UK, right? Because that's where you're based, right?
Yep.
But then something awesome happened. And and I want you to talk about what happened next, because you're crushing it in the UK Amazon market, you're bestseller, but you also have people in the United States market. And you started to look into some of the various different things that we recommend as some advanced launch strategies. What happened? And then let's talk about some of these amazing results that transpired.
Yeah. So in the process, you taught us about some marketing strategies where we can apply to different organizations who will choose or not choose you to publicize your book to their members, essentially. And I remember, like, right from the beginning, Jake would always say to us, BookBub, is the one, you know, this is the one that's going to be the game changer. It's the one. And I just visualized it from the beginning. I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to really push, and I'm going to get booked. I'm going to be the one. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. And I did. And I cried when I got that, because I knew that it would help me to reach the women in America that I couldn't reach through the kind of organic reach that I have in the UK. And for me, all women need to read this book, all women. So
Yep.
men too, but women primarily. And so to get that that promotion was huge. And like in the first day, first hours, I sold like 300, just under 300 copies, which is just mind-blowing amounts of words I wrote. You know, I'm only Claire Sparrow from Leeds. Like, it just shows you what's possible and the power of getting that out there. And so we've just rocketed then to bestseller in all 3 categories in the US as well.
Yeah, and you were, once you got that, and for everyone that's listening, little education moment here is BookBub is a site that offers to their readers discounted books. Okay. And so part of a launch strategy is to discount your Kindle book so that it's more accessible and easier for people to buy. And BookBub happens to have a platform where if you submit and you get selected, they blast it out to millions, I believe, of people that are very engaged in your respective niche. Okay. This is a power play. There are other sites like this as well that we have relationships with and that we encourage our clients to work with. But this is one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one that's out there. And Claire does it and she just skyrockets. And like you refresh the page and she's literally like top 600 of every book in the entire US store. Okay, there's multiple million books, to put it in perspective here. Okay, and she is in the top, not even 1,000, but the top 600. Okay, I don't remember the exact number that you got at the highest, but you were in the top 600 of all books that exist on Amazon.com. Like, that's freaking so cool. All right. And what's even cooler than that is you're selling hundreds and thousands of copies just from that one promotion, which is getting you tons of eyeballs, tons of attention. And it just puts you into a new level here. So as we kind of start to wrap up a little bit, you've shared some great things about your book, and I want everyone to grab a copy of your book, because what you've just shared is just a little teaser, and everything in your book is so, so, so good. But talk to me about this. As you've gone through this process, from the worry and the thoughts of, I'm not a writer, I have dyslexia, it's going to make it very hard for me to do this, to having a launch party where you decorate your door in the color of your book, to getting bestseller in the UK, to then being top 600 of all books in the world. Who have you become, and how has it already started to help you personally and professionally?
Oh, it's huge, because to complete something is one thing, but to complete it so successfully is another. I feel more capable of delivering and producing even bigger results for the women that I've had in my mind right since the beginning of this whole process. And you've said all the way through, some of you will want to be speakers, and I never thought of myself as somebody in that category that would want to be a speaker. I am so wanting to be a speaker now. I have got a message to get out there to women, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that I've got a goal. And I never would have thought, if I hadn't done the book, if I hadn't gotten to this point, I wouldn't have thought, yeah, I want to speak on stages. I've got I am the voice of hope. I need to get that out there. And this is the vehicle for that. And to grow my membership for women, to reach an international audience, because I reached them. I've got my book to thousands of women in the US, which is huge. And now I've reached that audience. They know me. They got my companion course online, and now they are just ready to step into my
Mm,
membership, which is
mm.
where I can just look after them for much longer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, who you are just evolved so much. And one of my favorite phrases, it's bigger than a book. And you are just living that. This is just the beginning for you. There are people all over the world now that know you, that know your book, that are going to be joining the membership and doing so much more because you took a chance on yourself. You bet on yourself. You made it a priority and you did the damn thing. So, Claire, how do we support you? How do we follow you? How do we get the book? Give us all of the goods so that we can have hope.
Have hope. One of the big visions that I have for hope is that we put hope in the hands of other people. So we give women hope. So I would love people to buy this book for a woman in their life for Christmas. This is fantastic, or birthday or anniversary or anything, whether you're a man or a woman, gift it. You can get it on Amazon pretty much worldwide. So it's really accessible to get. It's not hugely expensive. It's totally readable and doable. So it's a great way to do it. And you can find me at Whole Body Pelvic Health. That's my website, and it's .co.uk because I'm in the UK. So it's wholebodypelvichealth.co.uk. And I'm just Claire Sparrow Pilates on Instagram, and I'm there a lot. And if you're a woman and you want to kind of connect with me more, we have a closed, well, not, it's not closed, but a special Facebook community, a group, which is Pelvic Floor Exercises Reinvented, because that's what we're doing in there. We're reinventing it, and it's awesome. We've got a massive community of women sharing their stories. I give exercise ideas every week, and we
Mm,
just connect there. It's a great community.
so good. So good. And what we'll do here too is for the holidays, we're getting into the holiday season, right? What I want to do is I want to make sure that we, as in Big Idea to Bestseller, gift a copy of the book. So whoever is the next person to talk to you, Claire, whether it's from this podcast, whether it's from someone at home in Leeds, wherever it's from, the next person that reaches out to you, I want you to gift them a book on us, and we will take care of that for you. So if you're listening to the show and you hear that, like, get yourself, reach out to Claire, and we'll get you a copy of that book as a little holiday special. So, Claire, I couldn't be more grateful for you being part of the Big Idea to Bestseller program, and for you to take the chance on yourself and believe in yourself. And thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a joy. The whole process has been a joy to be supported by you as well.
Awesome. Amazing. And for everyone that's listening, like, I hope that you found a lot of benefit from this, both from Claire's journey as somebody who's grown as an author and someone who has a message to share, and recognizing that your message is important too, that your voice matters, that your story matters. And I also hope that you kind of gained a little bit of like, oh shit, like, my pelvic floor isn't screwed. Like, I can do this. Like, I have hope, and Claire does that better than anybody. So make sure to check her out, learn from her, and continue to grow. And so with that said, I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.